everybody. Welcome to Hot Topics 2021 by video, of course, and looking forward to bringing you kind of hot things to think about throughout the year. And the first hot topic is an Harvard Business Review article authored by a fellow by the name of Brian Kropp, who's the lead researcher for HR practices for Gartner. And of course, people really rely on the work that Gartner does and their analytical work. And he's got a great article about 9 trends to expect in 2021, HR trends and beyond. And the one I want to talk to you about is the very first one. It's because, you know, I've been talking about this when I talk about the personal equity promise and that principle evolving. But here's what Kropp has to say. The pandemic has given business leaders increased visibility into their personal lives, their employees who have faced unprecedented personal and professional struggles over the last year. So his trend that he talks about is employers shifting from managing just the employee experience at work to managing the life experience of their employees, to managing life experience. So I think you have to be careful about how you say that in a way of not being patronizing or paternalistic, or however. I think the constructive and positive side of that trend is recognizing that that work and life, and we see that so obvious when people have to work completely remotely, are just completely intertwined. And so the survey that Gartner did was that employers that supported employees with their life experience see a 23% increase in the number of employees reporting better mental health, and 17% of employees reporting an increase in their physical well-being. So this is a year when there'll be more effort around employers being more proactive about helping people with their financial health, helping people with their physical well-being in terms of more effort again around, you know, giving people support around meditation or sleep, or you'll see just an expansion of this whole thing around how people can become richer and better in the experience in that organization through the whole life experience. And I've been calling that the personal equity promise, that people over time, ideally the relationship between the employer and the employees, that people grow richer. And it's great to see Gartner talking about that as a very activated trend that's happening with employers. They're investing more in the complete human and the complete personal experience. And gosh, that's really an encouraging trend. You know, I can see everybody, for example, employers just going and buy people Apple Watches, for example, because of the data that comes back for it, or, you know, just the whole benefit world starting to kind of expand out in a much more enriched kind of a way. And one of the things I do, by the way, at my Harvard class on culture, the last element of the 10 elements I talk about is personal equity promise. I get the participants to brainstorm in the categories of how to build personal equity from a financial perspective, from a experiential perspective, emotional perspective, even a spiritual perspective, and they blow it out. It's unbelievable how you can get a group of participants that are really forward thinking and what they can do to create and come up with ideas around how conditions to make that work for employees inside of organizations, regardless of the size, regardless of how much, how rich or how financially capable companies are. There's lots that can be done. So you might like the rest of the trends in that Gartner article. I won't get into the other 8 of them, but they're pretty cool. So yeah, topic number 1. The second topic is one where I actually refer to a group of people that you might call a competitor in some ways. They do work culture, and I think they do really good work from what I can see and read, and they're called Noble. I like to check and find out what people in this space are doing. Of course, I learned so much from them, and there's so much room for all of us in an abundant way to contribute. And Noble has COVID-19 playbook. And so they've done an overview of, how people have really advanced and navigated through COVID lessons learned. And they have a playbook, and they talk about three things: triage, train, and transform. And of course, that's a nice consultant way of kind of trying to put things into categories that make them more accessible. But actually, there's stuff worth reading in there around triage, around the idea around how organizations can stabilize and help their business stabilize their business model and through this environment. I mean, you've got everything from organizations in the travel industry that are just reeling from this experience. That triage is a whole different meaning to a company like Zoom that's thriving in it. The triage means something very, very different, right? But there is a bunch of work there that they've done that's quite interesting. Around training, it's about training for build more competencies towards this direction of remote working. And one of the things that they talk about is a remote boot camp for almost every employee. And I think there's some merit there. One of the reasons that we created Belongify was that we're really targeting remote teams. And in some ways, that's one of the things we're trying to do about creating these conditions for belonging by targeting remote teams, because that remote environment or a hybrid environment requires different conditions for being able to have people connected, contribute, and to get better results. So yeah, the idea of remote boot camps, I think, are useful thoughts around all organizations pausing and checking and say, hey, where do we need to go with this remote and hybrid model going forward? And one of the things that they talk about in transformation that they help with people around transformation is to recognize that every change involves a loss. And so they don't, and I really applaud them for some of the work that they're doing around different change models. It's not like they're trying to use old methodology around change, but one thing they do help people to recognize is that we are enormously resilient, but they help people navigate the idea of loss, and they bucketed loss into a number of categories that are worth thinking about. So, you have to subscribe, of course, and give your email if you want to get that COVID playbook. But I think it's worth a read. This idea about organizations taking stock around, what have we learned about going through this pandemic up till now, and how might we go forward? I think that's something all of us can do, both at a personal and at a leadership point of view. And hope you find that useful, and that maybe inspires you to think or explore some other things as you go about your daily work. And as always, Garrett and I love hanging out with you. Join our socials. Check out Belongify. If you want to really kind of think about culture going forward, I really encourage you to think about signing up for the culture course that's online through lornerubis.com. Or if you could, in one of my Harvard classes that are coming up, one at the end of this month and one again in April and again in the summer. As always, we love hanging out with you. Please join us. You're part of our community, and we look forward to seeing you again next week for Hot Topics. Bye for now.